right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Biden bows out. The president's pivotal decision, he will not seek a second term. Now, as Democrats face a leadership vacuum, the race is on to fill the void. Good evening. I'm Mike Bush. This news comes after many Democrats called for the 81-year-old president to step down. He has officially endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris for the job. NBC's Alice Barr has more on the repercussions this move will have on the presidential race.
Tonight, President Biden's half-century political career is coming to a close as a new and uncharted chapter begins in a campaign like no other. Following weeks of pressure from fellow Democrats to step aside after that disastrous debate, the president announcing in a statement posted on X, quote, "While it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term." One of the president's closest allies, Senator Chris Coons, reacting.
He has always put our country first. He has an incredible legacy of service and leadership.
Mr. Biden then endorsed his vice president, Kamala Harris, for the nomination as the party scrambles to change course before next month's Democratic National Convention with just 4 months until the November election.
We'll put on full display our agenda for the American people and do what is necessary in order to leave that convention unified, get the job done.
In her own statement, Vice President Harris thanking the president for his service and his endorsement and saying it's her intention to earn and win this nomination and unite the Democratic Party to defeat former President Trump as the race hits an historic reset.
We just don't know what anything's going to happen.
Propelling the nation into unknown territory. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Biden is the first president to drop out of a re-election bid since Lyndon Johnson in 1968. He says he'll address the nation this week. Former President Donald Trump also responding. He tells NBC News, quote, "Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of the United States by far." It goes on to say, "We will fix what he has done." The delegates President Biden won in the primaries do not automatically transfer to Vice President Harris with his endorsement. Laura Barczewski is live downtown with reaction from local delegates headed to the Democratic National Convention in Chicago next month. Laura.
Mike, those Missouri delegates say they were fully prepared to back President Joe Biden at the DNC, but now they say it's time to shift and unite around whoever gets the official nomination. As President Joe Biden decides to end his campaign for a second term, Missouri delegates ready to support him at the Democratic National Convention highlight what they call a tremendous job as president.
He has gotten infrastructure passed. He's gotten the climate change passed. He brought us out of the pandemic successfully. We've had the longest job growth in the history of the country in over 50 years.
He's actually doing a selfless act on behalf of the American people.
But now their eyes are locked in on what's next. According to DNC rules, a new Democratic nominee could be selected beforehand by virtual vote, or it could be an open convention and actually be decided on the world stage. State Senator Doug Beck is headed to the DNC for the first time as a delegate.
And I think it needs to be as open and as transparent as possible as we go forward. I know the president has endorsed Vice President Harris, but at the end of the day, I think that I'm going to be listening to voters of Missouri.
St. Louis Alderwoman Daniela Velasquez says she would support Kamala Harris if she's selected, but stressed focusing on a common goal that hasn't changed.
Our focus is really on defeating Republicans and defeating Trump. We know what that looks like. We saw what it looked like in 2016. And based on his comments at the RNC, it's going to be 10 times worse. We won't have Muslim bans. There was mass deportation.
The chair of the St. Louis County Democratic Central Committee, Nelson Mitten, says now is the time for Democrats to unite.
Policies don't change. Democrats support the same things. We are going to move forward on those, and I believe there will be plenty of time to bring the party together.
All three of those delegates I spoke with are headed to the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. That takes place August 19th through the 22nd. Reporting live downtown, Laura Barczewski, 5 on Your Side.
And tonight we're hearing from the two Democrats running for Missouri's 1st congressional district. Wesley Bell says as a fellow prosecutor, he's a big fan of the vice president, but stopped short of endorsing her.
I think she's a very sharp and talented, astute person. I think she would do a great job, but there are other Democrats I think would also do a great job.
Congresswoman Cori Bush is standing behind the VP, saying, quote, "It's clear to me that Vice President Kamala Harris has the vision to carry this legacy forward, defeat Donald Trump, and I unequivocally endorse her for President of the United States." The senior senators from both Missouri and Illinois are responding. Senator Josh Hawley calls this a desperate attempt by Democrat elites to cling to power. He did that during an appearance on Fox News tonight.
Joe Biden's no longer useful to them. They're trying to find their next puppet, and we're going to have several weeks of auditioning for who that puppet's going to be. But at the end of the day, Republicans know who our candidate is, Donald Trump, who's not a puppet, and that's why he's going to win in November.
Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois released a statement reading, "His 4 years as president made it clear that he was determined to put our country back on track and restore the soul of our nation. America will be forever grateful for all he has given to this country." You can read more reactions from local lawmakers on KSDK.com, and be sure to catch the latest updates on air, online, and streaming on the 5+ app. Tonight, political analysts are weighing in on this watershed moment. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, has more from a panel of experts and their instant reactions. Mark.
Democrats are off to the national convention, which begins just 29 days from now. So joining us to break down what happens next is Missouri Democratic Party Chair Russ Carnahan. Good to have you with us. Also Anita Mannion, political science expert and our political analyst. And Kevin O'Malley, former ambassador to Ireland under the Obama administration, close friend of President Biden. Thank you all for joining us. Mr. Carnahan, I want to ask you just how quickly this process is unfolding. What is the hurdle that Vice President Harris faces? We know she has the endorsement from President Biden, but I assume there has to be some whipping the votes here to actually get the delegates to fall in line. What are those conversations looking like? Take us behind the scenes.
Yeah, these conversations have been going on hour by hour, but such a jolt of energy with the selfless action that President Biden took. And then immediately after that, Vice President Harris said she wanted to earn and win that nomination. So she's going to go out there and fight for it and lead. And so I think that's the moment people are looking for. We've even seen reports of record amounts of donations coming in online since this announcement. I think it's the kind of thing Democrats have been waiting for.
What does that conversation look like? What is that challenge for Kamala Harris to ward off any challenges to her nomination, knowing that delegates are going to be free to vote their conscience?
Well, the first thing she has going for her is the endorsement from President Biden, quickly followed by the Clintons, Congressional Black Caucus, and you can guarantee she's working the phones and shoring up those other endorsements. Notably, Obama and Pelosi hadn't came out and endorsed her. So the other thing she's doing is she's already started the petition to be a candidate for the convention. So she's getting those delegates in order. She's shoring up the funding. So she's got all the things in place to try to make sure that she is the nominee.
And, Mr. Ambassador, we haven't seen a moment like this in American political history in more than half a century. What does this do to cement his legacy in American presidential political history?
So I think that most people have formed the opinion that President Biden is a decent, caring person, and that is absolutely 100% true. And what he's done today is put the country ahead of his own personal ambitions and his own personal feelings, knowing that this is the best thing to do for the country. And I think that will even more, it will solidify to a greater degree the fact that he is an honorable man and a patriot.
All right, our conversation with our roundtable continues in just about 45 minutes, but thanks to each of you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And as Mark said, you can catch Mark's expanded coverage on The Record at 11 p.m. right after Sports Plus. And Mark will be at the historic Democratic National Convention next month. He'll have live reports from Chicago every night starting on August 19th.